Well, hello and welcome to the Creating Connections podcast, where I bring voices and perspectives from people who are making a difference for children's learning and development. I'm Rachel Stewart, and I'm passionate about connecting with people to share experiences and learn from each other how we can best support children to thrive. I'm endlessly curious about what is happening in our world today, especially in our schools and in private practice, with those who are just as passionate about supporting children to thrive as I am. Through this platform, my mission is to share good news stories and strategies for what is working in how to improve the lives of children in our world today and for the future. In this series of the podcast, we are exploring different people, support networks, and organisations who are able to provide a circle of support for you as parents as you navigate your way through the school journey with your children. You will learn from a diverse range of people how they can support you to guide your children to reach their fullest potential as a unique and whole person. I'm introducing you to Michael Geisner, a school teacher and former Aikido teacher who is passionate about supporting children, especially young men, to thrive as individuals. Together, we will share in conversation about his new program that he's developed to support young men to develop their own self-mastery. Michael is an extremely creative, intuitive individual who I had the pleasure of coaching to support him to achieve his dream to help young people to recognise their full potential. So I would like to welcome Michael Geisner to the podcast. Yeah, so really great to have you on the podcast today, my Creating Connections podcast. You're absolutely welcome. So you and I met probably 7 years ago now, maybe 6 years ago, at a course where we were learning to create programs.
That's right.
And you were, you trusted me enough to share your idea with me at the time.
That's right. You're one of the great people who gave me a lot of inspiration there. I ran my idea by you. What do you think about this? Is it a bit too nerdy? I don't know. And you said, no, do it. Do it.
I loved it. It was so creative and just really inspiring. Like, I was very inspired by it because it's something very unique and very different that isn't out there yet. And obviously inspired by your love of Lord of the Rings and all the different characters that boys particularly love in movies and stories. And of course, stories are a way to capture children's imagination, and the way that you've integrated the characters and the different sort of personas into your program.
Yeah.
I just found it so amazingly creative that, I wanted to learn more. So, of course, we engaged in some coaching and to support you to get it out there. And it's just taken some time because, as any good idea, it takes time to nurture it, to get it right, to figure out what it's about, and to then put it out into the world to actually share that dream and vision that you have. So, and along the way, we have setbacks, with life and family and all the different responsibilities we have. And of course, as an entrepreneur, it's always challenging to make money, especially when you're starting out. So perhaps you can start by sharing with me, I guess, when you first started thinking about this idea and what inspired you, along with, your love for the movies and the books and the stories. What inspired you to create this program that we're going to be exploring on the podcast, on the interview today?
Okay, well, the program is called Band of Heroes, and I've developed the idea a little bit more since the seed of it at that course that we did. That was actually back at the beginning, no, at the very end of 2019, just
before COVID hit.
Before COVID hit.
Yeah,
that's right. So I had this great idea and all this enthusiasm to launch it, and I had my first little meeting about 1 week before we went into lockdown.
Yeah.
So, but there was a big incubation period for Band of Heroes, and a real personal testing ground. I think a lot of action research for myself, going through something like COVID, the lockdown, and actually staying quite sane. And actually, luckily I didn't actually get COVID, but I found that, yeah, I did coaching with you, and I was implementing the Band of Heroes during that time in my own life, and it was actually a great time for me. I really enjoyed it. It was still tough. Okay, but where did it come from? Okay,
When was
so I
the
guess
first seed of the idea sown?
I thought it kind of came from that course, but the seeds of it go right back to my childhood. I grew up. I'll keep it kind of brief for everybody, but I grew up in a place called Mackay in Queensland, which is on the central coast of Queensland. I actually grew up outside this little town in the bush, and very close to the Great Barrier Reef. My father and mother were world adventurers back in the late 60s. And so they had this great love of adventure. My dad took me out. We had a little sailing boat that we used to go to deserted islands or uninhabited islands, go diving, catch fish, go camping, all this. So that was part of it. I also led other kids, the city slickers who came to my house, say, okay, I'm going to take you on a bushwalk, and showed them the bush. Maybe a lot of Aussie kids who grew up before the 80s, before the internet, could relate to that if they grew up in the bush. And the bush, it was the beautiful coast, rainforest. We had a waterfall half an hour behind my house, had a creek just next to my house. And we did a lot of dangerous things back in those days. Parents didn't even know where we were. So I also loved imagination. What else do you do? Like, there's not much else to do.
Yeah.
So I grew up.
No iPads, no iPhones,
No.
No entertainment. You just had to entertain yourself.
Entertain myself. Sometimes friends would come over, and we were just totally immersed in our imagination. It was great. And then when I was about 11 or 12, I discovered, my dad said, stop reading comic books. This kid has got to start reading some literature, which is actually funny coming from my dad. But he said, go and find a book in the library. I came back with something called The Hobbit. I said, would this do?
Not just any book.
Any book. It's like,
I'll just go for one of the hardest books to read.
yeah. And so I loved The Hobbit, and that led on to Lord of the Rings, which was just amazing for me. This is long before the movies came out, and I'm a slow reader. I think it took me 3 months to work my way through this book. It was just like virtual reality. Or I'm leading up to something. It's like virtual reality, or I grew up in the bush, right? And I'm reading about all these enchanted forests. And I kind of live in an enchanted forest. And so all this imagination in this imaginary world, I could superimpose that on the world that I actually lived in. Maybe a bit of it was escapism, because I didn't like school very much back in the 80s, back in Queensland. It was pretty tough back in that. Corporal punishment, everything.
Yeah.
And so I really, really loved that. Of course, I loved Star Wars as well. And around that time, one of my great friends at school said, you're coming with me to do karate. Like, that was all you could do. Karate or taekwondo in rural Queensland back at that time. I said, no, I'm not a sporty kind of guy. He said, you're coming with me. So he brought me along to karate, And I loved it. I loved it. There was so much discipline. It was really traditional stuff. There was this sense of hard work and honor and discipline. And it was exotic as well. And it gave me this idea of like, when I put on that karate suit, I'm not this awkward, nerdy kid at school who lives in the bush. I'm like this, I'm kind of like a hero, you know, or an emerging hero. And all the other people are too. And it wasn't, you know, we think of karate as being very competitive, but actually everybody was working together to learn together.
Yeah.
And it was a very supportive. And wasn't just guys, there were women. A lot of women really helped me learn karate. So anyway, this is all these seeds coming together. What else? Oh, also around that time, I discovered Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons.
Which was it sort of big in the 90s or late 80s? 80s.
Mid 80s.
Yeah.
Anybody's watched Stranger Things?
Oh yeah, kids love Stranger Things.
Kids starting to play Dungeons and Dragons. That was me and my friends.
Yeah.
We're like one of my Stranger Things series 1, season 1.
Was it like watching your childhood?
Like me and my friends. When is this set? It's like year 2 before we got into it.
Yeah.
And it's addictive. Like Dungeons and Dragons was totally addictive.
What's the appeal?
Okay. The people who played Dungeons and Dragons back in those days, it was rather segregated. There weren't so many girls playing it. It's kind of this nerdy boy thing. That is totally changed now. But basically there were boys, 14 years old. They loved karate or taekwondo. They loved Dungeons and Dragons and computer games. And they had Commodore 64s. That was the stereotype. All my friends fit that profile. And we gathered together to play Dungeons and Dragons for a year and a half, every lunchtime at school. And my teacher really supported us, the English teacher. He said, guys, go for it. We learned so many language skills and mathematics, imagination. And I was the dungeon master. I was the storyteller. I wasn't allowed to be a player. I said, I want to play the game. They said, no, you tell the story. You're the storyteller.
You are a good storyteller.
So I was kind of like forced into this role. Made some other things that I was doing around the time was I started acting classes. That also has a lot to do with Band of Heroes. All this comes together. Later on, I became a teacher. Yes, everyone.
Even though you didn't like school?
I kind of liked school. I loved learning. I really loved like my English teacher. History, loved history. Creative things. That's what I was really into.
Yeah. Well, I love hearing about where it all began in your childhood, because
that's right.
I think we grew up in the lucky time where we didn't have phones and iPads and those things to entertain us, because we could go out into the bush if we lived in the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
I did as well, and spent all my time outside and using my imagination. And I really credit having a creative career to my childhood, because I had those opportunities, and just being able to use your imagination. And you've mentioned it a few times how important that is, to, even if it is escapism, it's our actual gift to be able to escape into our imagination. And really explore what it is that our intuition is telling us, and
Mhm.
what ideas we're gathering as well, and just
Yeah.
being exposed to all those different environments, like the bush, the sea, and all those things that you're seeing as a child and taking in and making those neural connections, and then how that then translates into like how you sort of integrated your the stories you were reading and the
Yes.
environment that you lived in into your life. And I feel like
Yeah.
that definitely was the seed for starting you thinking about how I can actually be like those characters in the stories, and
Yeah.
what are those stories actually telling me as a child, as a young person, that
Yeah.
I can take on board in my own character. So maybe
That's
to elaborate on that, just what specific characters do you think in all of the different things that you were doing and the sport that you took up, all the different mentors and characters that you've come across have influenced you as well?
Okay. Well, just personally, for myself, but also for the people that I've met over the years. Well, I spent a lot of time doing martial arts. I started out doing karate, and all respect to karate, traditional karate. I'm very much a traditional martial arts person. Some people want more just biff, biff, whatever works, win the fight kind of thing. But actually, traditional martial arts are very, very different to that. It's the idea. This karate as well is the warrior transcends the need for violence. So actually, practicing true warriorship is not to become better at violence, but to transcend the need for violence in the first place. And so I went from karate, I graduated onto, I moved anyway, segued into a martial art called Aikido, which people may be familiar with. And Aikido is the embodiment of all the great old warrior traditions, the philosophical warrior sage stuff from China, it's India, it's also maybe in European traditions, but it got lost a lot. It's still alive in the traditional Eastern martial arts. And it's this amazing idea. It's George Lucas nailed it in Star Wars,
What a
like
genius.
the Jedi, the original Yoda. I went to Japan to study with the masters, like the master of the style of Aikido that I really resonated with. I said, when I was 19, I said, I'm very much like Joseph Campbell, the mythology guru from America, said his famous thing. He was always talking about the hero. He said, you must follow your bliss. Whatever turns you on, whatever your heart, yeah? Like follow your heart. He says, there will be a time, usually in teenagehood, when there is a whisper from life, the mystery, the universe, whatever. There's a call to action. And he says, you need to follow it. This is Western, very much Western wisdom. Doesn't mean that it's not in other cultures, but he said the Western tradition is really about that. And so I did. I went over to Japan, just amazing. Many of the things that the master, and I'm not saying that lightly, like this person has had practiced 50 years under the founder. This person is the things he said were just like Yoda. It's just profound. Sometimes I'd weep when he said it. It's like, oh, that's so profound. If we implement it in our lives, if we don't, it's just like something you read on Facebook. Mahatma Gandhi, this amazingly wise thing, you'll just scroll past it.
Yep.
That could change your life.
How many people actually live it?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think from doing Aikido, I thought, oh man, you could apply this to many other types of hero. Okay, so Aikido is like being a warrior, or even like a monk. There's a lot of mystical things, not magic, but actually like really, meditation, things like this. It's not just about knocking somebody out, definitely not. It's about focusing your mind, calming your breath, having good posture. And so in D&D, there are different kinds of heroes. There are all these archetypes. I would love to sit down with Carl Jung, someone like Carl Jung or Joseph Campbell. He passed away a long time ago. I'd love to sit down with him
and have a chat
about this. He'd say, oh, that has the roots in this and this and this. So in Band of Heroes, I thought, what kind of heroes can we apply to our daily life? There's a warrior, but a warrior doesn't necessarily mean fighting or that kind of warrior. Like a sportsman, like a gentleman cricket player.
Yeah,
that's a warrior.
Someone who is a mature, good, like a positive role model.
He's a gentleman. He's noble. This idea is very much in the warrior sense. Okay, I have to say another thing. So in something like Dungeons and Dragons, or we all know these heroic stories, you can be a warrior, but you might be a good guy, or you could be a bad guy. All right. So we did this course for self-improvement, right? Self-improvement, or being a heart-centered difference maker. And so if you're going to be a warrior, don't be a dark one. Tough person who violence and ruins people's lives and damage. That's the dark side. That's the Darth Vader kind of side.
Yeah.
You want to be on the Luke Skywalker, something that inspires. And it's not about violence. It's preventing violence, protection, service, self-control. That's a radiant warrior.
And sharing your radiance with others.
Sharing your radiance and helping other people to become warriors. Or maybe they're a different kind of hero. We can't have everybody as a warrior. We also need somebody who's like a king. Could be a queen as well, but I'm mainly dealing with, it doesn't have to be men and boys, but it is probably going to appeal mostly to men and boys. So that's who I'm kind of aiming at.
And men and boys, do you believe at this time that there are a lot of males out there who are feeling a little lost and needing support in terms of finding their place and also finding themselves? Because I know a lot of people self-isolate now too, because they spend a lot of time on their own during COVID and find it difficult to socialize and are feeling, I suppose, a little concerned about where they fit in the world now, when women are changing, females are changing the way they live and behave, and there's a lot of, I suppose, challenges as a parent too when you're raising sons, to know which direction to move them towards, and you want them to be good, to grow from little boys to beautiful men, but how do we actually support parents to do that when there's so many different external influences on them? But what you're doing is really exploring self-mastery for young men, which is a concept that we don't often hear about unless we go seeking that sort of information. And I only discovered it in my late 30s, early 40s, that actually I need to master myself to become the person that I want to be. And I wish I had known that when I was younger. So what are your views on that side of it, I suppose, in terms of the motivation for creating this for young men?
Okay, I used to be a high school and primary school teacher, mainly high school because I was a language teacher, LOT. I taught Japanese. If there are any language teachers out there, it's a tough gig in Australia. It is a really tough gig.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it's very hard to get people enthused in languages.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of misbehavior in class, and there was a lot of being on contract as well, being expendable, being seen as an expendable teacher.
Yeah.
Or languages, maybe
even though languages are so important for cognitive development.
Yeah. So I'm really, really, really passionate about learning and education. I think schools can be great places, and in my experience, they can also be, well, I have to say it, toxic. They can be, the classroom can be toxic.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, I need to get out, actually. So I actually stopped teaching for a long time, and I felt very sad about that. Yeah. So I think it wasn't because of giving up. It was like I need time to sort myself out and what's going on. It's very hard to, day after day. Can be so bombarded with toxic behavior towards the teacher and such a lack of respect, downright rudeness as well. And then it can be very hard dealing with the principal of the school as well. So they don't really understand what's something. Unfortunately, in my experience, they didn't always understand what's going on, or they have their own pressures, let's say. But I've gone back into teaching, doing relief teaching, and I would say that I've taught at a couple of schools. I teach quite regularly at this one school. I would love to say that I'm a great relief teacher, all that, but I find that there are so many fundamental issues going on, and I don't even know the kids. I don't know them as a relief teacher. I think the first step is for me just to get to know them.
Yeah.
To make some connection. And even that is such a challenge now. Like when I come into the classroom, some classes don't even pay attention. They're at this one school. I'm not going to name it because I think it's probably at many other schools. This particular school, everybody has an iPad, which sounds good. That could be a selling point for the school. However, they don't control what the students do with the iPad. it's not like, say, in the old days, open up to this exercise, and that's what you're going to do. They can do online shopping. They can shoot zombies.
Oh, really?
They could maybe, I've seen people making TikTok dances in class. And so it's very hard to walk into a classroom, a cold audience, and say, okay, open and do this work.
Yeah.
It's also, I noticed a dynamic. Okay, it was there when we were in school as well. Were we angels? Did we
No.
want to do our work? No, we didn't. But there's something else going on that I really notice, and I think that's a loss of deeper meaning in the kids' lives.
Yeah.
Man, that is so sad to look at, and there's so much. Not everybody, but there are some very vocal kids who have a veneer of being cool, and if I like go down the like traditional teacher path, they don't respond to that at all. There's no control.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't like not capital punishment. Corporal punishment.
Corporal punishment.
Corporal punishment. Sorry,
Yeah.
delete that. That doesn't go in the final, did it?
Yeah.
Corporal punishment. No way. Not at all. Okay, but what's it all about? Respect. This genuine respect, as there's a human being in front of me.
Yeah.
And they care about me. And that's worth something. But I wear a ring, okay? I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. I do a bit of cosplay. It's like this to remind me, physical reminder, to be my favorite character in Lord of the Rings, Elrond, who's a wise carer. He doesn't tell people what to do, but he gives advice for them. So this reminds me. For example, I had one boy come in and say, "Nice rings, though." Oh, it seems so genuine. So I said, "Oh, thank you very much," like that. And he seemed very personable. Great, nice sociable kid, sociable boy. And then later on in the lesson, he was setting me up. He was like a con man. He was a con man in training. He just wanted to see if I were, in his mind, see if I was gullible enough to believe his compliment.
Yeah. It's really sad, isn't it? It's so sad.
So sad. And it's not just an isolated thing. As a relief teacher, I meet a lot of kids who don't know me. I haven't had a chance to make a rapport with them.
Yeah.
And they don't even give a teacher a chance.
Yeah.
They just say, let's make a fool out of this guy in our eyes, so we can laugh at him, get him off guard, so we can do mischief. Oh no, I follow up with classroom behavior management as soon as but it's sad to me.
Yeah.
There's this sense of no honor.
Yeah.
Just like
honor and respect.
Street smarts is viewed as cool. But what's their real life results if they have this lack of meaning or some higher standard to hold themselves to? Quoting Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Hold yourself to a higher standard. Have a, we're also in this very cynical time, maybe rightly so. These people that we were our social heroes before, now many of those giants have fallen.
Yep.
Like, you want to be funny, be like Bill Cosby. Ooh, don't mention Bill Cosby.
Mm,
You want to be an entertainer, don't be like that guy.
yeah.
Or you want to be closer to God, be careful, don't be like those guys.
Yeah.
And people, I'm sure people know that. So there's a lots of, if somebody embodies that, there's like a cynicism about it. Who do you think you are?
So where have the heroes gone? Is it the
Where have
age
the
of
heroes gone? Yeah.
being your own hero in terms of not in a narcissistic way, but
Yeah.
becoming more self-aware, becoming more
Yes.
more like the person that you would aspire to be or the person that you would find to be a hero that is not out there, but becoming the hero yourself so
Yeah.
that you can have that aspiration to be a better person, to be more noble and to be more like those characters that you've created.
Yes. Yes. When you say that, immediately comes to mind in the movies, Lord of the Rings movies. Okay, this isn't a movie, it's a bit different to the book. Somebody else said it in the book, but in the movie, the elf lord that I was telling you about, Elrond, who's a father figure to one of the main heroes, right? He's an emerging hero and he doesn't have so much confidence in himself. He's working hard. He's destined to become king. He's going along that, but he just needs a bit of encouragement. And Elrond sneaks into his tent, comes into his tent at night, and he has reforged the king's sword that was broken. Like the king, thousands of years ago, his forefather, great, 3,000 years before him, failed. He failed. And so this Aragorn is dealing with that. Can I become the great king that he failed to become? Can I defeat the evil that he lost to? And Elrond reforges the failed king's sword, makes it anew, gives it to Aragorn, and the exact word eludes me, but he gives it to him, and Aragorn unsheaths it. He says something like, "Become the hero you were born to be." Wow. So this hero is not adding on to yourself. It's not like you are not a hero and you need to advance and get experience. This is Dungeons and Dragons, good for a computer game, but not in real life. You say, oh, I've got to go out and have all these amazing experiences to add on to myself. No, it's like, I believe it was Michelangelo. Hopefully I don't get this quite wrong, but I think he made the statue of David.
Yes.
Okay, so other people are much more expert than I am, but it's the message that counts.
Yes.
And he had a big stone. The artist, who was an Italian master artist, said, I have the stone and I look at the stone. It is not making the statue. It is revealing the statue that is already in that stone.
Yeah.
That's
so profound. So it's
so profound.
the hero is already in you. You just have to find
Already
it.
in you.
Yeah.
It's already in you. And that is in Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is just a masterpiece of the heroic narrative.
Yeah.
It's in many other stories. Whatever turns people on, whatever lights them up.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to help people to do. Find out who they are.
Yeah.
They may not be a big muscle-bound barbarian. It may be a little fat hobbit who likes to sit at home smoking his pipe. But he's got a quest. He's got a quest. There's a call to action that it's time to get on the road. Get on the road. And it's that little hobbit, the little hobbits who saved the world in Lord of the Rings. Everybody bows down to them at the end. You saved the world for us. The great heroes didn't do it. They helped you. You did it with what you had inside you, but you didn't know about. And that's what I think a lot of people are missing. A lot of people, and especially boys. I see it in girls too, though.
Yeah.
But maybe girls, on the whole, generally speaking, girls may respond to a different kind of narrative.
Different characters, maybe. There might be some girls who respond to it.
Yeah.
Is it a case? Sorry. I was going to say, is it a case of you said it's time to get on the road. Is it a case that children or young people don't know what that road looks like for them? They don't have any, perhaps it is because they haven't been able to use their imagination as much as we did when we were younger, and to be able to visualize what that road looks like and what dreams they have, and have they been allowed to dream enough, or is it all about being in a structured world now where we have certainty about everything and we're not open to the wonder of imagination and possibilities to be able to have that road sort of not mapped out but open for opportunities. Like, is the mindset around your future doom and gloom, or is it like there's such a big world out there to explore, but there's also me to explore as a person? Like that is such the biggest reason I think we're here, is to discover who we are, and in the process discovering other people. But mostly I think, and what you're trying to do is teach young people how to discover themselves first. Who do I want to be? Who can I aspire to be for myself?
That's right.
To then go out and find
try out different roles as well.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. That can be part of the journey.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want to be like this. I didn't know. I didn't really know. Not when I was 15. I don't think my friends, we didn't know. We weren't concerned about that. We're concerned about, here's another thing that's missing. We wanted, and we did, play. We played.
Play, yeah.
When we were 15-year-old boys, we actually played. We went into the bush and made wooden swords and pretended, when it's very ecologically incorrect, chopping some of the native vegetation with our wooden swords in the 80s.
You didn't have anything else. You didn't have the plastic swords. You had to make them.
Yeah, I'm sure it grew back. I mean, the grass trees that we cut down. If you're a Queenslander, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, better than going out and picking fights with people, which I think I've picked up. I was an Uber driver for a couple of years. There's a job where it's very hard to find meaning. Yeah, but I enjoyed talking to people, all kinds of people as well. I picked up some teenagers, like, oh, so what are you doing today? Oh, we're going to the festival because we're going to bash this other other group of boys.
Oh no. And that seems to be becoming a lot more common as well.
Why are you getting an Uber to go and bash somebody and cause yeah, they bashed so and so and so and so. And maybe that is how they feel like a hero. They feel justified to do that.
Yeah.
It's such a negative version of the hero. If they came to do martial arts or a sport, they would get that energy, but they have a higher ideal to aim
Yes.
for. And there's some structure, there's some Mr. Miyagi stuff in there, the Yoda stuff. That's not what a warrior does.
And it's possibly because a lot of young people are missing those really positive role models too, who were around, to actually give good advice, and perhaps that's sort of falling on teachers, for example, who really have a huge role to play in being those good role models, especially for boys.
Yes.
Especially if they don't have fathers.
Oh
which a
yeah,
lot of
that's another
children
thing
don't.
too.
Yeah.
A lot of missing
And
fathers.
yeah, and it's just become, I suppose, quite tragic that they see, those boys that jumped into the Uber, that they see that as noble, as a noble thing to do. And
Yeah,
who are they trying to prove that to anyway?
I'm not even sure if they thought that it was noble. Like it could be noble, kind of noble in a sense. Like we know that there's it's kind of vigilantism. You're like
Rebellion.
there's a gang who is stealing people's iPhones apparently the week at the festival the week before, and so they were going there to stop
Seek
those guys.
revenge.
But it wasn't just stopping them; it was bashing them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a sense of, I don't know, it was just seemed like very meaningless.
And
Like
heartless,
low,
of course.
a low motivation, really, or just for the love of violence, or maybe testing out how tough they are. And
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very positive thing.
No. So how have you you've created these characters as part of your work in terms of communicating those messages around the different personas that you have as a human, and the different people you can aspire to be within the one person. How have you practiced that in your own life to have an understanding of what you're trying to teach? I know you've actually worked on your own self-mastery, and you've used your program to actually test it out on yourself,
Okay.
so that you practice what you preach, and
Yeah.
it works, and there's always refinement. No one's ever perfect, and practicing self-mastery really is about getting into good habits and practicing every day to be a better person and to be the person that you want to be. It's not really self-mastery. Might sound like you've mastered it, but fact is you're trying to master things every day and practice each of those characters or who you're actually working on at the time. So how have you done that in your own life?
Okay. Well, let's see. So in Band of Heroes, there are 7 kinds of hero. The main, and I think it covers, okay, it's great for the fantasy side of things. People, if they play Dungeons and Dragons or they read fantasy fiction, which is super popular, they say, oh, I know what Mike's talking about. Just basic stuff. Got a warrior, got a wizard, or a magician, if you like. Doesn't have to be male. But you can get wizard. There's a rogue. Rogue, hey, that doesn't sound like a hero. Okay, but you could think of a rogue as somebody causes chaos and mayhem, like not such a good thing, robs other people and all that. but a rogue in the sense of escaping the prison of your own mind to become better, like to help you. And maybe some things, like we live in a peaceful society and it's quite free. But what if you live in a place like Nazi Germany, to take the worst example? Being a rogue would be like a resistance fighter. That's a hero. They're standing up for what they believe is right under tyranny, right? So I guess we've got to be a bit careful with that one. Some people could assume certain ways, but being well informed and getting the best intelligence you can and balance and thinking critically, that's a very roguish thing. If I say something to the kids in class and they just, oh yeah, okay, and they take my word for it, that's not being a rogue. Is what about this? What about that? I don't agree with that. That's
Encouraging questioning in a
a rogue.
respectful way.
Talk to me. They're being a radiant rogue.
Even more
Questioning
important now with AI, because kids need to learn to be discerning of information that may not be true.
That would be a rogue. Don't believe everything you're taught.
Yeah, ask questions.
That can be a good thing. Not being cynical, but having some discernment. Yeah, and making the right decision, even if it goes against the grain. That's being a hero. There's also a monk. I call it a monk. It's nothing religious, but it's personifying some like higher things, more like it's spiritual, whatever is spiritual for you, and communing with that. I lived in Japan for a long time. There's a lot of monk kind of things within traditional martial arts. You clean the dojo. You don't leave it a mess. Many of my Aikido students, I was an Aikido teacher for 15 years. Some of my students, young boys, cleaned their rooms without being asked. The mother said, "What did you tell my son?" "What do you mean, what did you tell your son?" "Uh-oh, did I say something bad?" He's cleaning his room by himself now. Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's a huge step for a boy. I just had my son just cleaned his room for the first time in a long time last night. And I thought, oh, what's going on with him? All of a sudden he cleaned his room. And I said to him tonight, how good does it feel to have a clean room? And he said, it actually feels pretty good.
Yeah.
And something dropped, a pen dropped in him overnight. And all of a sudden he's just thought, I'm going to clean my room up. I'm going to clean my act up. So it's amazing.
One thing about Band of Heroes is this big thing is play while you're cleaning your act up. Get your act together, boys.
Yeah, put on some music, and like we do with housework, put some music on, make it an enjoyable experience.
Absolutely. That's another one of the heroes, is the bard. Being creative, being that a person who writes love letters, for example, even if they're the dorkiest thing and clumsy and everything like that. One man said to me, like, I grew up in the bush in Queensland. Men don't dance. You stand at the side with your beer and let's talk about sports. Come on, let's dance. No. I don't do that. One man said he can't dance, but he gets on the dance floor. This is when he was single. He got on the dance floor. He said he got the women all the time. And it wasn't because of his dance moves. He said he was the guy who got on the dance floor and just moved his body.
Yeah.
And didn't limit himself doing it. That would be the bard. It would
He's
be
prepared to go outside his comfort zone.
sing a love song. if you're okay, so whether it's to your girlfriend or your boyfriend, doesn't matter. You're being the bard. You're being the bard, and you're giving something. You're being creative. That's a really important one. Being king, actually looking after the finances, being responsible, getting your affairs in order. It's a big part of life. Being responsible. That's another big one. It may be another one, big inspiration is a ranger. What's a ranger? Anybody who knows Lord of the Rings will know what a ranger is. They're out in the bush, scouting around, keeping an eye on things, communing with nature. And yeah, getting out into nature. Maybe the kids get out into nature, but I don't think they really commune.
Do they take it in?
I'm not sure if they take it in. Somebody might go, whizzing through the forest on their dirt bike. And that can actually be very enlivening, but it's not quite the same as sitting down and really relating to nature. Maybe, I don't know. It depends on the person.
Yeah. And having the opportunity to do that and just take it in and watch the birds and what they do and watching insects and all those things that are so important for particularly young kids to start doing when they're little, and being curious about nature because it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And really taking it in rather than just being in it, being of it instead of in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to maybe conclude, some of the things that I've started doing is definitely making sure that I get out into nature much more. I might appear to some people like some strange hippie sometimes. during COVID, like during lockdown months, people, it's like, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to walk around barefoot in my 1 hour free.
Yeah. How good did that feel?
Why is that man not wearing shoes in the supermarket? Well, I walk in the park barefoot like I used to when I was a kid. Feel the earth under my feet.
Yeah, I'm a barefoot kid too. I can't stand wearing shoes.
Yeah. Climbing. I don't actually climb trees. But when I was a kid, I used to climb trees. Yeah, very dangerous and all this. But aside
you get
from
a better view from up there.
Yeah, you do. You do. there's the risk, and you can't really let kids climb trees at school. Hey, come down. But yeah, we want them to be safe. Maybe we could hook a harness to them so they can have the experience of climbing a tree and seeing what the world looks like.
Different perspectives.
But we've got ourselves covered and got their safety in mind as well.
Yeah.
So to get those experience, climb that waterfall. Just climb waterfalls. Kids used to. It was like just pure luck that nobody became paraplegic. But
and it's amazing because you mentioned before how our parents didn't know where we were, and I was the same. Like we used to spend all our time down at the local creek, and we made this little house out of all the different things like rocks, and there was different rocks where you'd walk through, and there was another room, and there was a big moss bed that was our bed. It was a huge big rock with heaps of moss on it.
Yep.
And so you could actually create games around nature. So I think that gave us a bigger appreciation of nature and how resourceful you can be with different parts of nature.
There's a yabby or something underneath it.
Yeah, it was just an amazing playground to discover things, and
so many ways to learn.
And time did not matter at all. Like we just didn't even notice time go past, and we only went home when we felt hungry. which was probably at the end of the day because we were so engrossed in the nature and just exploring. And there was probably heaps of snakes around and all sorts of things and spiders,
Absolutely.
but we didn't even
Snakes
think
everywhere.
about it.
Sometimes we probably notice snakes sometimes, but a lot of times I think kids are just so engrossed in what they're doing. There could be all kinds of creep crawlies around, but we
Yeah.
don't think about that. Yeah. So Band of Heroes is I would like to bring it into schools for the students. It doesn't have to be for all of the students, like make everybody in the school do it. No way. It's not that kind of thing. It in the beginning, it would be like, especially people who resonate with that. Like I did Aikido. I did Aikido in schools. I was just teaching Aikido as itself. But that's very, very niche. And kids who want to do a martial art, but they want to do karate, they want to do Aikido. But or they want to do some sports. Maybe they want to do cricket or AFL, something like that. They won't even choose martial arts. They'll choose that. But those qualities are in common with all of those things and brings people out. I started out thinking, what problems is this going to resolve for people? And I got stuck. Yes, it helps people with their problems, but really that's not it. If you said to a little hobbit, this will help you with this problem and this problem and this problem, they would never start. Be thinking too much about it. This is, let's go on a quest. Learn your stuff on the way.
It's all about the language, isn't it?
You become a hero on the way, and you don't even tell them that. It's just like, let's play. So in the beginning, I might show them some Aikido stuff, just to give them, this is an embodiment of it. But then it would be, how are you doing that? How would you like to do that in your life? And we actually talk and share. It's about a band of heroes. Everybody's their own kind of hero, but we come together in trust. Trust is very important, and we discuss. And what's your quest? What turns you on? What's your big thing that you're aiming for right now? It might change in the future.
Yeah.
But let's get interested. Next week, how's it going? Be really interested in this sportiveness.
I love it. I love it because I think what it will do for particularly children who are introverts, who may not have many friends, and they're seeking children or other people who are like-minded, who have the same or similar interests, but they don't know where to find them. And it's not always a good thing to try and find them online because you don't know who they are. But if it's within a school environment, particularly teenagers, where those introvert children who are quite shy, you're actually going to give them a voice to find their voice. And because introversion is not a bad thing, but we live in a society that expects extroverts to be the leaders and to be the people who are, the most heard. But introverts have so many qualities that are so helpful for other people because they're very observant of other people, but they just may not express it or have the opportunity to express themselves. And what you're doing is really providing that for them. And it doesn't have to be just introvert teenagers, but children
may in the beginning
seeking something
appeal more. Somebody that then probably it's going to person who has some introspection. They
Yes.
know themselves. Is one of the multiple intelligences. Personal intelligence. There's also another thing that it may appeal to. YouTube has profiled me and sends me all these videos. I said, oh, okay, I'll click on one.
Based on what you look up on YouTube?
Based on what I look up on YouTube. There's psychology thing, and it says Sigma males. Sigma male.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, okay, this is really open to anybody. I'm in the Tolkien Society. It's small, 6 of us. 50% of us are women. They love Lord of the Rings. Hardly any female characters in it. I say, oh, it's so biased against women. But some women really resonate with it. Some of the characters, different characters.
Yeah. But it's important also to teach people that we have a masculine and a feminine side to us.
That's right. It's all about being who you are, who you really are, and getting rid of those limits and all this channeling into, you've got to do this, got to do that. Maybe you're not in the book of prescribed careers. Maybe you'll be like a mythological guru, like Joseph Campbell. That's not in a career book, right? But Sigma males. And I think what is really valued now is, okay, pop psychology here, the alpha male. UFC, maybe a lot of good things about that. But if somebody gets into it because it's gladiatorial, bashing somebody up, doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, but you're the boss, you're the alpha. And women are doing UFC as well. Something like that could have good parts, but it's definitely got a dark part to it.
Yeah, and that
is very valued now.
Yeah. And I think that's the other message you're sharing too, is that kids, or all humans, have a choice to do good or bad, light or dark. And there needs to be both, but you also need to have an awareness of both inside yourself to be able to combat when the dark does come in. And you and I explored this through coaching, is how do we learn how to do that? Because no one really teaches us how to do that. It just happens, and then we struggle through life. Life's ups and downs, and we think it's bad. It's a bad thing that these things are happening to us, but they're actually lessons, and they're actually trying to tell you something that you need to improve in yourself to get back to the light.
Yes, that's right. It's the quest. It was easy, wouldn't make for a good story. Somebody says, why didn't all the heroes just fly on these giant eagles, the good guys? It's like the Air Force. Why didn't they just fly the eagles and drop the evil ring into the volcano? They could have done it in 3 days. Why did they spend a year walking, climbing mountains, battling demons? Why? Well, that'd be a boring story.
No one would go and watch it. Yeah, because we love drama. We love things going wrong, because that's what we're used to. But how about when things do go right? How can we make more things go right in our lives rather than focusing on the negative? And so the quest is so exciting. The quest of life is exciting, and I think that your program is long overdue to be in schools. And is there opportunity also to have small groups outside of schools for parents who are interested in perhaps getting some friendship groups together, because there might be some parents watching this who know their sons, for example, have a group of friends and they're looking for different things for them to do rather than just being on the games. And perhaps they're not interested in sport, but this could be something that they're interested in exploring further for their self-development for their sons. Is there opportunity for that as well?
Okay, so it is available to everybody, but a lot of things are available. I could do AFL if I wanted to. It's available to me.
Yeah.
Does it suit me? Not really. These other things suit me much better than that.
Yeah.
But also somebody who, just to use an analogy, the ugly duckling. Maybe somebody who's again, it's open to everybody, but somebody who's a bit different. Maybe they're just geared differently to other people. You know, some people can, oh, you're an outsider, you're a loner, you're weird, something like that. Oh, some people go to Mongolia. I've heard this. They had autism, I believe. An autistic child went to Mongolia, and I think it was Mongolia. The shamans came into the tent. They were doing the real Mongolian experience. The shamans came in to do their ceremony. A child shaman walked up to this Australian autistic boy, looked at him and said, "You are one of us."
Yeah, there's lots of shamans walking around, isn't there, that haven't discovered themselves yet.
He rode horses and he communed with horses, apparently, and instead of, he was in his niche. He was valued. I imagine his confidence just was brimming over.
Do you think that your program would be suitable for autistic children?
I'm not recommending it. I'm not saying recommending it. I'm not a psychologist.
Yeah.
It's not like that. This is an activity.
Yeah.
It's an activity. I'm not saying it's a therapy. I cannot claim that it's a therapy. It's like scouts in a way. You don't do scouts for this and this and this. Just, this is scouts. This is what we do. We have a lot of fun, and you get out of it what you get out of it.
Yeah.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
But it can appeal to, if somebody feels like, I'm a warrior. Look at this bedroom. That's filthy. This is not a warrior's bedroom. I'm going to clean it up.
Yeah.
What happened to this boy?
It's
in him already. He just has that, he gets that twinkle, the spark in their eyes, and I don't see that in many people.
I know, and that makes me sad too, that kids have lost their spark.
Bring the spark back.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
I love it. And I always love talking to you, Michael, and I love hearing you talk about your ideas and your creativity. So how can people get in touch with you to learn more about your program? And is there another platform that you have at the moment that you can share information on?
Yes. The best way to contact me is through my Gmail account. I have a number of them. I've got a difficult to spell last name. Okay, so I'm going to give you the easy one. It's Mike Hero Coach @gmail.com.
Yeah.
Right. And I do have a fledgling Facebook page at the moment. It is on Facebook. If you type in Band of Heroes, maybe later I could give you a link. Maybe there's a way to have a link to my page, just in case people have a bit of difficulty finding it.
I can put it on the end of the podcast. So yeah. So have you got a phone number as well that they can call you on?
Yeah, true. 0425 745 780.
Yeah.
And it's a really good thing to text me first. Text me. It's like everybody. I think everybody gets scam calls.
Yeah.
I need to be more of a rogue and figure out how to stop these scam calls. It makes people so cynical, right? I
And
don't
of
know.
course, you're based in Melbourne. Are
Based in
you
Melbourne.
able to work in schools interstate or just in Victoria at the moment?
Pretty much. Well, okay. Well, I don't want to limit myself. If somebody in Greenland wants to do it and is willing to pay my airfare, bam, I'm there. I'm there.
Yep,
But,
you always well, part of your journey, or that
yes,
the quest is to do more traveling. So,
I've just finished watching Walter Mitty.
uh,
He goes to Greenland, Iceland.
yep,
Yep. Okay. So I have, now that lockdowns are over, I have a lot more time to devote to Band of Heroes and implementing it.
yep,
It would be basically, it's Melbourne based.
yep,
It would be Melbourne based. I'm definitely available to go further afield.
yep,
The other thing is that I've done online coaching, as in English language teaching,
yep,
for quite a few years now, and a lot of these things can be, yes, of course, a lot of things are best done person to person with the band of heroes, but a lot of it, I'm a personal coach,
yep.
a
Development coach.
catalyst coach, yes, where I can, it's not so much about teaching people skills, but asking them the coaching questions. It's amazing the results that people get,
Yep,
transformation that we
yep,
can get. And I put that, the life coaching course that both you and I have done, and I put that together with my heroes.
yep,
People who resonate with that hero message, I do the life coaching, splice that in.
yep.
We're going to get amazing results.
Absolutely.
It's
And
individual.
would you do group coaching online as well?
Group coaching online, definitely.
Yeah.
I would definitely do group coaching online. I just need to brush up on some of my technological skills, part of the wizard.
Yeah.
But yeah, group coaching, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been fantastic chatting with you today, Michael. And
Okay.
yes, as I
Thank you very
said,
much.
always a pleasure to listen to you speak. And hopefully, our listeners and viewers have enjoyed hearing from you as well, and how inspiring you are as a person, but also the program that you've created to help young people is just amazing. And I hope that people really contact you and understand what you're trying to do, and that they reach out and hire you in their schools, because I think it's a really important message that you're trying to send to people, particularly to children who
Yes.
we're here for and trying to support, that we want to bring their spark back, and we want to really support them to have a path to take, have a road to get moving on, and to feel optimistic about the future, and to really work on themselves and their own self-mastery, because it's such a skill, such a life skill to have as a young person, to be able to understand yourself as you move out into the world. I really wish I had have done something similar as a young person as well, but like you and I, we've had to just figure it out, and but now we can help other people as well. So thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, and a shout out to my life coach, Rachel, who helped
Yes, you can
me.
do a testimonial now if you like.
Yeah, that's right. Go with Rachel. Help me not give up on the Band of Heroes concept through a very, very challenging period like COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
and help me to develop my program myself. So
Yes.
Rachel, I said to Rachel, if I'm like at that time I identified as Gandalf. Like, who doesn't love Gandalf? Gandalf is awesome. I was like Gandalf, but Gandalf needed help too. He wasn't
Yeah.
all powerful. He needed the Lady Galadriel. So Rachel is my Lady Galadriel.
I love that. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm gonna use that for sure.
I send you pictures. Like, you are her to me.
That's
Yes,
amazing. That's a great way to finish.
yes.
Yeah, so thank you so
We all
much.
need
And
supernatural help.
pardon?
We all need higher, or some special help. You know, in
Yes,
all
we
the
do.
hero tales,
Yep,
heroes can't do it alone.
absolutely
They,
not.
they need other heroes to help them.
Yep, so that they can help others.
That's right. That's
Yep.
it. All right. Well, we better go.
Yes, we better go. We'll talk all
People
night
are
otherwise because we love
tuning
to
out.
talk. All right. Thanks again and all the
All right.
best with your program and we'll stay in touch.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thanks,
See ya.
Rachel.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed this episode from our Circle of Support series of the podcast. If you would like further information about how to be in contact with our guest from today, please click on the links below. If you are a parent who is struggling with any of the issues we've raised in this episode, I invite you to book a call with me by clicking on the link below or scanning the QR code on the screen so you can share with me what challenges you're experiencing and I can share how I may be able to support you as you guide your child or children through their learning. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our Creating Connections podcast to continue to learn from myself and our guests how you can best support your child as they navigate their learning. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you on the next episode in our Circle of Support series.